Penguinz0 finally responded to the drama. He dropped an over 20-minute video talking about how crazy the Moist Critical situation is. If you've been living under a rock, YouTube's golden boy as of late has caught himself in some hot water for a couple of things that we'll talk about. A statement would be released saying that he is leaving his podcast, the official podcast, and Red Thread. That would have people jumping to the conclusion that he couldn't take the heat, so he got up out the kitchen. People thought him leaving the podcast was him leaving the internet as a whole because he got ran off the internet. I'll be honest with you guys, I wouldn't have blamed him if he retired. If Sneeko cooked me in a debate, I would have left the game, man. That is too big of an L. You just gotta hang it up. You know what they say, leave football before football leaves you. And that's a sign for you to dip, or it'll be too late and you'll be looking like Ronaldo in the recent Euros. What universe are we living in? Cody gets outed as a predator. Moist Critical loses a debate to Sneeko. I feel like some news is gonna come out that Martin Luther King signed off on Jim Crow. Despite all the flack he was getting, Moist Critical was uploading videos as usual, but Sneeko and the comment section was not letting him breathe. They were telling him to not only talk about that, but the debate between him and Sneeko, but also the Mr. Beast situation. He wouldn't talk about the Mr. Beast situation, but he would talk about the debate and a few other things. He was started off with talking about his supposed retirement.
So to set the record straight, no. I'm not retiring, despite what the experts are telling you.
He said he has no idea how folks got him leaving his podcast as him quitting.
I can't even wrap my tiny noodle around how anyone could perceive this as me being done with the internet entirely, but that's the story that they ran with, and that's what most people saw, not the actual post.
To be fair, I would have taken the exact same angle. I ain't no better than these folks out here. You gotta blow things out of proportion to get these folks' attention, nah? The reason for him leaving was cause he wanted to scale back on his internet use because he was turning into the person he would make fun of, someone that was chronically online.
Which is something I thought about periodically for quite a few months now, mainly because I started to recognize that I was becoming the very thing I'd make fun of with being chronically online. Like, I just was always online, and the podcasts were a big proponent of that, and I just kind of wanted to scale back the amount of time I spend online, and I kept Jackson in the loop the whole time here about where my head was at, and last week I told him, hey man, I think this is going to be where I hang up the jersey. You can put it in the rafters, throw it in the dumpster, but I think I'm just going to be, sailing off into the sunset here and just reducing the amount of stuff I do online.
Got another quote for y'all, man, and I think y'all know where I'm about to go with this one, huh? Come on now, stay with me. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself as a villain. Which, side note, I watched The Dark Knight last year. Solid movie. It's a phenomenal movie. Can't lie. When I heard that quote, I was like, oh my gosh, they said the thing. They said the thing. And I also had no idea the unstoppable, unmovable object quote thingy. I didn't know that was from The Dark Knight too. You can say the timing of the exit is a bit fishy, and I would be right there with you. I do think that the hate that he was getting for sure played a part in his exit. He said he was planning on leaving for quite a bit, so all the hate that he was getting might have been the last push that he needed for him to take a step back.
So being totally honest, I used to treat the internet as an escape from my dog shit real life. Truly unhappy, really hated most of everything about myself, and the internet was my escape from it. But now it's really become that real life is the escapism for me now. Like, I love posting and creating things, but I don't like interacting with the internet around me anymore.
The next topic he talked about was the Ava backlash he was getting. It was a damn if you do, damn if you don't type ordeal. He got backlash for not talking about the Ava situation, even though he talked about it like a day after the news broke, I believe.
When covering the Ava Tyson situation, I was attacked by a lot of people for not being quick enough. Even though I covered it within like the first 6 hours, people were unsatisfied that I hadn't made a video within like the first fucking 20 minutes of it dropping.
People were saying, why isn't he talking about the Ava situation? Probably trying to secure that Mr. Beast collab and doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. The person that spearheaded this was Sneeko. We'll talk about him in a sec. Charlie was getting called a transphobe for calling Ava by her name and not by her pronouns. People also felt like they had to force his hand to talk about it.
And then when I did finally finish the full video coverage covering all of it, it was another massive problem where now I only did it out of an obligation because people called me out, and then I also got accused of being a transphobe because I didn't use Ava Tyson's preferred pronouns, which were she, her. I didn't know that. I thought just calling Ava Tyson by her name was okay, and I had also heard when I went to the Mr. Beast thing, someone refer to Ava Tyson with they. So I was truly under the impression that that was okay. And for that, I was annihilated by a good chunk of Twitter.
There was no winning for him however he wanted to approach it. When Moisty Man talked about the Ava situation, he would call out Sneeko for his beliefs on the age of consent. And that was cause Sneeko called Moist out for not talking about the Ava situation, saying, "You're trying to secure that Mr. Beast collab. I see you, boy."
Yo, look out, Moist Critical is not gonna go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the Mr. Beast collab. Bro, you're gonna talk about every other trending situation, Dr. Disrespect, Sneeko, anything that goes viral goes on your main channel. Chris, the associate of the biggest YouTube channel in the world, you do a 4-minute clip on your second channel. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're gonna be a journalist, or just say that you wanna have the collab. Stop lying.
For the people that don't know, the same guy that enjoyed watching Cuties, a movie that sexualized children, believes in the age of maturity. Whatever the f that means. They would exchange messages on Twitter where Sneeko would say the age of consent, the age of marriage should be the same age that you can drive. I don't know what the age of driving is all across the world, but here in the land of the free, that's like 15, 16. Yeah, I know, but it gets worse. They would get into a call and Charlie wouldn't know Sneeko was live streaming the conversation until an hour in. He thought it was just gonna be a conversation just between the both of them after he finished IRL streaming in Turkey.
I thought this was a conversation between him and I, not this kind of debate show that he was putting on for his audience. There is nothing in our DMs that indicated that's where it was going. When I joined the call, he asked if I was going to record it, to which I said, I can if he wants me to, but I was also down to just talk. So I thought maybe he wanted it as a recording to explain to people no, he's not actually a pedophile defender or advocating for that kind of thing. So I thought that is why he asked. I didn't know it was because it was being streamed. Especially because one of his last DMs was about how he's doing an outside IRL stream and he would call me after. To me that says when he's done streaming, that's when we'll talk, not as a part of his stream. I didn't know this was a debate nor a stream until about an hour and 40 into it, roughly somewhere in that ballpark.
Now let's get into the nitty gritty. Charlie was trying to get an exact age from Sneeko, and we didn't get that, but we got something else. Sneeko would ask what makes an adult and what makes a child.
We haven't even agreed upon what a child and an adult is. You keep saying that it's 18.
Under 18
That's
is child.
And I'm
Over 18
telling
is
you,
adult.
that's not even the definition of the word.
Crazy question to ask, but again, it gets worse. Sneeko would say you become a teenager when you hit puberty.
Again, I don't think a 14-year-old can ever be physically mature.
Mm-hmm. Even though they literally can. Even though puberty actually defines that, it's fine.
So just to put it in perspective, a 12-year-old girl that gets her first period is an adult before she becomes a teenager. Think about that. Does that not sound wacky? The conversation would go all over the place and they would land on a topic that would get the Moisty Man in some drama. They would talk about kids transitioning, and Moisty Man said that if both parties consent to it, then what's the mishap? What's the problem?
Do you believe that somebody can go through hormone therapy? Can they change their gender if they're a child?
I think that's totally fine as long as everyone is consenting, as you agree with.
Okay, so as long as everyone...
If your parents are okay with it and you are okay with it, I think that's totally a familial decision to make, yeah.
Okay, so a child can cut their penis off and take hormone blockers and change their biology forever, but they can't get married?
Well, that's a decision that now extends beyond the family, because now you're bringing in a different party. So if you have someone that's your age coming in saying, I want to marry that child, I don't think that can happen under any circumstance.
So,
no.
But it's still a personal decision. You're still deciding.
Because there's
take the other party out of the equation.
It's
a personal decision. If I'm 16 and I personally want to marry this girl. She's beautiful. She's 21 years old. Her family wants to do it. My family wants to do it. You're saying I can't do that. We're both consenting. I'm ready to go. I'm physically mature, but I'm not allowed to marry because Moy says that woman's a pedophile. But if then the next day I leave it, I'm depressed, I want to cut my penis off, I can go right into the clinic, snip it off, and start taking HRT like Chris Tyson. That's a society that makes sense to you?
It is. I believe
okay.
everyone has I believe everyone has the right to do with their body what they want to do.
He thought he was engaging in hyperbole. He didn't think Sneeko meant, the whole chopping off the meat thing. He thought just the transition part, not the fully transition, if you get what I'm trying to say.
I thought he was talking in hyperbole. I thought he was just exaggerating, being over the top, talking about the entire subject of transitioning. I had no idea that any living, breathing human being actually thought that that's how transitioning works, where you just go into a doctor saying, I feel like switching genders, and they lay you down on the operating table and just snip your whole fucking meat off. I didn't know that that's what he actually believed. I didn't know he was speaking literally. I thought he was just referring to the entire process of transitioning and just using this over-the-top statement to encapsulate all of it. Because you literally cannot get that surgery unless you are 18.
The closing remarks he would make in this video, he talked about him being called a centrist and saying that he's not special. He's just a guy that makes goofy videos. He doesn't try to fence it.
And a huge critique of me that I've always seen is Charlie's a fence sitter. He's just a fucking fence-sitting enlightened centrist cuck, this and that. And I've always said for the entire time I've been on the internet, I'm not special. I'm literally just a normal guy who got very lucky. I just sit here, joke about shit, talk about my opinion on things, and nothing else. I don't have a unique perspective on things. I don't have deep insight into the vicissitudes of certain things. I am literally just a guy who yaps, has some fun, talks about shit, does some wacky stuff as well, and that's it. It's just not that deep. My opinion is not special, and my opinion isn't one that's pandering to any sides or catering to anything. It's literally just whatever's up here. I sit down for like 30 to 45 minutes on like a topic or like a video that I'm joking around about, and I talk about it.
And slow down on the drama chat because it's become draining and it's no longer fun to him.
So I definitely think I'll be slowing down on covering internet-related drama or like drama in general. I'll still talk about like really wacky stories and shit like that, but I definitely think I'm gonna be pumping the brakes on like the kind of drama I have been covering recently.
Which is a similar sentiment Ludwig made in a video on his other channel, Mogul Mail.
And I'll tell you straight up, it's not a lot of fun to talk about these topics.
It's kind of crazy that folks were so up in arms about Charlie's comment and beliefs on kids transitioning that we're just gonna overshadow the fact that Sneeko said a kid is going through puberty, they're an adult. I want you guys to think back into that time in your life. Would you consider yourself an adult? Cause I wouldn't. The things I was doing, I definitely could not tell you guys here, man, cause this is a family-friendly channel. But just know, I was wildin'. There's no way in hell anybody will look at me and the actions I was doing and say, that's an adult right there. Charlie has been on a pedestal in the YouTube space, and when that's the case, there's gonna be folks that want to knock you off it. Like Mr. Beast, for example. Obviously, two different situations. Mr. Beast had someone in his circle that shared lollipop to children. He is running a game show with bad conditions, and his videos might be fake. All Charlie did was share a controversial opinion. They are YouTube's darling that are in drama, and folks are taking the opportunity to take them down. Is it warranted? Well, I'll let you guys decide.